Today, I'm going to walk you through my Pro Tools template that I currently use right now. This template has built up over the years, so it looks like a lot, but it's absolutely simple. This is something a beginner can absolutely use like right away. So first thing I want to start off with is talk about the concept. So the concept is working it like it's a console. So the center section is the master section. Now, because I produce and I record vocals in Pro Tools, to my left are MIDI tracks, or yeah, instrument tracks, and to the right are audio tracks for vocals. And then everything merges in the middle. So I always make a master track to the far left and never touch it. I don't add any plugins or anything ever to this unless it's like tonal balance, something signal so I can see what's going on in the whole entire mix. Other than that, I never touch it. I also add a click track to my template. So all you got to do is go to track, click track, and that's how you add a click track to your session. For as far as I know, there's not a shortcut. That's the only way I know how to do it. Now, it's a lot of MIDI tracks. I load up about 48 MIDI tracks. The theme is to just keep working. So I load up as many tracks as I need. So my template right now is at 48 MIDI tracks and about the same amount of audio tracks for recording vocals, basically. That way, I'm always just record. And then later I can just take out, deactivate, and hide whatever I'm not using. So 48 instrument tracks. I got about, I think it's 16 for the drums, 16 for the percussion tracks, 16 for the instruments and bass. Next to that, so all the instrument tracks are audio tracks. So the way that you bounce MIDI to audio in Pro Tools is all you have to do is drag the MIDI track onto an activated audio track and it bounces. The caveat to that is you need to merge all your regions of your MIDI first, consolidate like the whole region first, and then drag it onto an audio track. That way you don't get any clicks and pops, because when you drag it a bunch of clips onto an audio track, it doesn't do an auto fade, which is something Pro Tools probably needs to do an update for in the future. So what I do is just consolidate all the tracks on the whole entire track and then just drag down to an audio track and it bounces in place. So I got audio tracks ready to go for that. And then to the right, it's just audio tracks to record vocals. So I have this mic pre right here. It's just so I can see the signal coming in from the Apollo. That way I don't have to open up console. And the red tracks in front of all the sections, it's just the track I'm recording all the vocals on. And then whatever we're keeping for the song, I just drag down onto an empty audio track. That way I can just keep recording and I can edit at the same time. I got that from watching other engineers that record in big studios, watching their lives and watching them do that. And they're doing two things at one time because you want to keep the session going. So I record everything onto one track, and then I just drag down and drop down what's needed for the song. And so to create a playlist so that you can comp or keep all of your takes, Control / is the shortcut. So you leave everything in that playlist, drag down what you need, and then you can deactivate the track later so that it's not using up any CPU. So basically I got tracks for every section. So the pre-chorus, the chorus, which is the hook, verse 1, verse 2, and verse 3. I use verse 3 and the bridge on the same tracks because most of my beats I just put 2 verses and then a bridge. So V3 is basically the same thing. It could be either a verse or a bridge. So with that in mind, so you got tracks on the left, you got tracks on the right. Now the middle section starts off with auxes for my sends. So like reverb, delay, distortion, so on and so forth. All of my effects. And I have all the effect tracks going into one aux track and then into the mix bus. That way I can compress or EQ all the effects together so that I can shape and mold it and keep everything tamed so that effects aren't just going wild and stuff like that. Next to that are my crushes. So I got all the drums minus the bass going into a drum crush. I got all the instruments going into a crush track, and I got all the vocals going into a crush track. And I do this, and the reason why these faders are down is because I have the whole signal going in, and what I do is I'll compress the signal or add distortion, do anything chorus, funny tricks and stuff like that, and then add a little bit of that back into the session to give the session whatever it needs, whether it needs width, a little bit of more saturation in a different way, so on and so forth. And I could just add that in, and I just know what I'm doing it for. If the drums need something, the instruments need a lift altogether, or the vocals need a lift. That's what these 3 tracks are for that are in the yellow. So I got an auxiliary track called the mix bus, which everything routed will end up on this road right here. And most of the time, the most I'm doing on the mix bus is a tiny bit of compression just to glue everything together. And that's it. I'm not doing nothing. I'm never doing nothing too crazy because I rely on balance. As long as the track is balanced the way it needs to be, all you're doing is just, I don't want to squeeze the dynamics too much to where there's no life. I like to have liveliness in my records. So a little bit of compression, that's it. Don't need too much, especially given the fact that you're compressing on individual tracks along the way as well. You don't need a massive amount of compression when you get towards the end whatsoever. So next to the mix bus is all of the auxiliaries for all of the instrument tracks. So I got a bass, kick, snare, toms, cymbals, percussion. So all of those go into a drum bus, and then the drum bus and the bass go into this DNB, drum and bass, and I compress the drums and the bass together so that they're more cohesive and that they're glued together and they're working as one unit. Got all the instruments going into this keys bus. So I make beats in Pro Tools in the box, so all the synths are going into the keys bus. And if I do any type of live guitar, because I own a guitar, I do it on this guitar bus. And then so the drum and bass, keys, guitars go into the instrument bus so I can see where my levels are at, and then that is routed to the mix bus and then out through the master. So that's how everything is routed on that side. And for the vocals, I have a few auxiliaries here. 1 for the lead track, 2 for the backgrounds, and then all of that is going into a vocal bus, and then from the vocal bus onto the mix bus. So we got the beat and the vocals together, sauce them up together, make sure everything is leveled and everything like that, and then out. The reason why I have 2 background ones is because I record and I like to do a lot of layers. And one of the layers that I always do after we work on the lead vocal, is something we call ins and outs, where we're dubbing specific phrases throughout the song. So in each section of the song on top of that, so that certain things poke out at every once in a while, so that your ears is not just listening to just one vocal going all the way through. You got stuff, the vocal will, thicken up or will change a little bit with the layers. And I have those certain words or certain phrases, certain messages poking out. So that's what that's for. And then the background too is all the runs, all the ad-libs, because rappers love doing ad-libs. Why, I don't know. Still to this day, they still want to do that. Anyways, but yes, so the BG2 is for that. So anytime they want to do runs, something that they're going to do probably once or twice, is for that. And I can put different effects and EQ them different so that there's different layers of vocals going throughout the track, so that everything has its own space and that nothing's colliding with each other, and I can give it its own gravity, because I always want to make sure that my leads are in the middle and then everything else is spaced out, and through balance I can have it a certain way to where you hear everything, but certain things are just more quiet than others, and work it from there. And that's pretty much it with the mix window. Now on to the edit window. My song structure is intro, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. I always start my session a little bit over, just in case I need to drag the chorus to the front. It's a lot easier if there's space here. I can just drag it and line it up a whole lot better. So that's why there's a little bit of empty space in the front. If you want to add markers to the session, all you got to do is hit this plus sign, or you hit the enter on the number key side of your keyboard. And it'll add it wherever you put the cursor. Same thing if you want to key map or tempo map the session. It's the same thing. So for me, I always put the key of the song and obviously the tempo in the session, so that if I open it back up, I know exactly what key I was in and everything. I don't have to search around or ask whoever make a beat, or if I can remember my own beats, I could just open up the session. I can see it. It's already mapped out. The transport window is always open. That's F1. And I always use punch record. That way I'm not waiting to record. I'm just hit play and just keep going. Because sometimes in the session when you're working with artists that are there and they don't have a lot of time to just sit around and stuff, you always just want to keep recording. Just always keep hitting the record button. MIDI merge is on, so that as I'm playing keys and it's looping around, I can add more keys on top without it overriding. It'll just merge all the keys together. But that's pretty much it. Pretty simple. If you have any questions, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer. If you want to see a live session of me working from scratch, from beginning to end, beat, vocals, everything, we can do that. So let me know if that's something you want to see in the future. But until next time, we are.